Hey,
going
what's up,
on?
guys?
How you
Nothing
feeling?
much.
I'm doing great, man. Just woke up and I'm at the crib.
Very
Dude, I love
nice.
the robe, man.
Yeah, me too.
I gotta. That's much better than what we look like.
I look very put together, but this is just what I wear when I wake up. And my mom bought this for me
Nice. That's
for
that's where I
Christmas. She
got the
goes,
only robe I have too.
"Where do you get robes from? It's from your mom." You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And if you got a girlfriend that cares enough, which then you got a good one if she's buying you stuff like that.
She's talked about getting me a robe. My girlfriend, not yet though. So I don't know.
That's
I still
because she
have.
wants to cover you up. That's why. The different reason.
Yeah,
um,
so you got to get it. You got to get it monogrammed too. You know, with the embroidery, with the
that's
initials.
next level. If she gets me
Yeah,
that,
dude.
keep her.
Dude, funny story about this. My mom got it embroidered, right? And I'm from New Hampshire, where it's just like sometimes I go up there and I'm like, wait, that costs what? It's so cheap. Everything's like it's like they're living back in time, which is amazing in a way. And she like went and the guy did it by hand and all this and that and like gave her the bill and it was $7. You know, it's like
Maybe I
what?
can afford a monogram on my clothing.
Yeah, dude. Like in New York, they'd be like, "Oh, that's $150." You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Yeah.
easily. Oh, that's great. And
Yeah.
Brad,
Awesome.
actually, you could borrow this because it's got two of your initials. So just so you know,
Oh yeah, perfect. I just cover up the W.
There you go. Just pick it out.
yeah.
Yeah. Um. Well. Yeah, man. You look comfy. If you're ready, we'll get started in a sec. I don't know if there's anything you want to steer clear of talking about. Feel free to let us know.
Too
And we
late, man.
usually
We're
go.
not
Um.
cutting out the robe stuff. We've already started. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're already recording. We can just keep going. Yeah, I was ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I'm ready
let
to
us.
go. No, I don't got to hold anything back. No.
All right. Cool. And we'll shoot for maybe like hour and a half. Unless
Okay.
you got any other preferences or time constraints.
No, that's fine, man. At some point, I might have to go make a second cup of coffee.
Oh,
Same.
I feel you, man. If you need to, I'll go make one in solidarity with you.
Yeah, dude,
Because
coffee break. 45 minutes in, let's get hyped up.
all
Good.
right, man. Sounds good. Well, then let's get it started. Welcome to the Mink and the Monk, everybody. My name is Brad Monkel. Over here is my co-host Matthew Fink, and we're joined today by the great Brady Watt, uh, legendary bassist, multi-instrumentalist, producer, now singer. Amazing series on YouTube, Bass and Bars, that you should check out. Brady, I've been a big fan of what you've been doing on YouTube and Instagram for a long time, and I've only had more fun doing research for this interview. So thank you so much for being here with
Nice,
us
man.
today.
Thank
I want
you.
to I want to give you it's a little late, belated congratulations on being in remission. You recently went through treatment for cancer, and again, man, you're an inspiration from so many angles, but just the way you've been so frank about it when I've heard you talk about it online is you put a lot of great healing energy out for for other musicians, whether it's just how you live your life or how you're doing your music, and it's great to see. I did hear you say on the Leave Looking Up podcast that your hands are still sore from the treatment, that you've still had to deal with some side effects from that. How are you holding up now, and how is that progression going?
Yeah, the that's pretty much gone now. They were kind of numb. You know, what I mean, like when I wake up, my hands and feet are a little bit numb, but it's gotten better every day since, I think I stopped treatment and my last chemo treatment was in May. Sorry, let me
Hope you're fine.
Looks like we might have
Frozen.
some technical difficulties.
Screen frozen, so the audience can get a good look at
That
the
robe is
initials on the
slammed.
robe, as we were
Lovely.
talking about. Good feature.
And I have some loved ones, behind bars. That's like a perfect robe to send somebody.
Do you have a robe, Matt?
I do, and my lovely wife bought it for me. I have a couple of robes, um, and they both were gifts from her.
Shit, man. If my girlfriend's listening, she better be taking notes.
Man, robes are a nice gift.
Yeah.
There you
One
are.
sec,
Hey,
guys.
no worries.
I, yeah, it's still recording, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're good.
Someone was calling me and it like kicked me off the thing.
Oh,
Okay, so yeah, let's restart it. Someone who knew I was doing an interview. Okay.
you're talking about your circulation or waking up with a little bit of. I didn't know. I was going to ask you if that was treatment related or if it's a circulation thing, but you were saying your hands and your feet are a little tingly in the morning. That's where you left off.
So we can cut and then come right here. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I had my last chemo treatment in May of 2022. So it took a little recovery. Um, every day I've gotten better, man. And there's still a little bit when I wake up, but yeah, my hands are working fine now. My feet were kind of numb, but now it's all good. I'm actually in better health now than before I was diagnosed, because these things come into your life for a reason, and it wisens you to the game, and makes you aware of your health. And I was pretty healthy, dude, like before that. You know what I mean? I'm training Muay Thai, I'm eating good and all this and that, but still kind of living like a rock star, you know what I mean? Um, like drinking and smoking and all this.
Yeah,
And
well,
since then, I've quit all of that. I don't even
oh,
really, I
okay.
haven't like publicly been like, oh, yo, I don't do that. But yeah, I quit drinking, smoking weed, just like super dialed in. You know what I mean? And
And
I wasn't like an alcoholic or anything, but like I've found that as life goes on, you need to keep tightening up your habits and rising above to where you were before to get further. And it
mm,
takes a lot. It's not simple. Like to gain the real progress, you got to make pretty serious sacrifices. Sometimes life dishes them at you, and then you got to fight them. And then a lot of the time it's just within you. You put boundaries. You're like, all right, I'm doing this now. I'm not doing this. I got to do this amount of videos a week. I got to practice this amount. That's how you really progress.
yeah. Has
So
that
yeah, I've learned a lot, man.
I mean, I'm sure that you get a lot of positive feeling just in how you feel day to day, and especially I'm sure when you're working out and everything, doing other activities. But musically, like when you're channeling creative ideas, have you noticed a difference in how you feel? Getting away from drinking and smoking and all that.
Yeah, you know, uh, I was doing pretty good before, but yeah, definitely just in a clearer mind state. I'm getting more stuff down. There's an adjustment. I think with weed, it helps with creativity. It does, you know what I mean? But it's not the best habit to be doing all the time, because you just get in the habit of doing it like every time you're in the studio, especially being me. I'm in like the rap world. So I'm
Well,
surrounded
of course.
by vice, right? My whole
Yeah,
life, man. I've been in that since I was a kid. So um but I've always been pretty disciplined. So I wasn't like a total mess up or anything. But like, yeah, I've had to enforce rules upon myself. Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, yeah, since I've really quit everything, my career was kind of sharpened. It's gone up. My following went way up. I mean, that's really just because the beginning of the year, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to post a reel every day, whether it's an old one, a new one, me talking to the camera on the way to the studio, me playing bass and bars. It could be anything, but I'm posting a reel every day. And it takes me about an hour. I just did it before you guys called. You know what I mean? And that's that. That's settled. I'm not like messing around on my phone all day. I just like post it and then I'm out. Then I'm going and like go in the studio, do whatever I have to do. And I'm always
yeah,
filming the content. What I tell people, I get it how I live. So a lot of it is on my phone. I'm playing bass every day. I'm writing songs. I'm living the life, and I'm just kind of capturing it, and that's what turns into the content. So it's not necessarily work. Sometimes I'll set aside shoots to do specific stuff, but obviously for basic bars and certain things. But usually I'm just like, that's just what I do. So I'm just capturing what I do.
Yeah, man. Um, well, it's like I said, it's very inspiring to see, you know, how you tackle all that stuff. And I know that you've been talking about more recently pushing yourself to sing more, which I also know was
Mm-hmm.
affected by the chemotherapy. But you know,
Yeah.
hearing you on the new Styles P track that you guys did together, your singing sounds awesome, and that's something I've been trying to push myself to do too. It you know, it's
Mm,
really refreshing to see, like,
good, good,
I'm
good.
trying to make myself sing on my gigs and push myself, because I don't, you know, I never loved my singing voice. Doing
Yeah.
this is like how I try to get myself to like my speaking voice, but I'm still so
Yep.
far off from the singing. Like, how did you feel about your voice all these years? Like, what are the big things that have pushed you to, I guess, be more comfortable tackling singing?
I would start with, I implore everyone to do it because there are a lot of the benefits are overwhelming. So let's start here. Everyone, once you start using words in music, you double your pot on the publishing end of things because publishing is half music,
Hmm.
half words, right? So once you say, I'm a writer, dink, times two, okay? We use words every day. Like I feel like there's a lot of like mysticism, ooh, songwriting. Like it's like, nah, dude, we're using these words every day. We're listening to music every day. All your favorite songs are simple. They're really not hard. It's it takes work, of course, but it's really just not that crazy. Like the first song that I did was what happened was I just honestly never intended on being a singer. I was very compositionally based doing that for like 20 years or something. Or how many years? Yeah, probably 20. So I started singing professionally when I was 35 in 20 in the year 2020 just now. And really just because I just didn't intend on it. I was with all these people doing it, and I was always like, oh, that's what they do and this is what I do. But it was really just a self-permission button that I pressed one night. And luckily I had a lot of validation uh, because of where I had already gotten, because this is what happened. I produced a song for Papoose and Wiz Khalifa. It called Is It Worth It? And I made the beat and Wiz did the hook. And I was like, I got all the files and I was like, this is amazing. I got this Wiz Khalifa track that I did. And he did the hook. And I'm like, but that sounds like a post hook. The hook isn't really complete. I got an idea for a hook. So I went in and sang the reference of it. And I intended on sending that to my friend Ro James, who's like an R&B star. And anyone I would have hit up would have came through and sang the hook for me, right? Um, and I had him dialed up, but I'm listening to the song, and I'm like, dude, this sounds good with me on. And the lyrics were, "Is it real and is it worth it? Grinding all of your life. How's it feel when I prove you wrong right in front of your eyes?" That was all the lyrics. Which, once again, not reinventing the wheel. That's my life. That's just what it is. And I put it down, and then they loved it. Papoose loved it. Wiz loved it. We dropped the record. I'm featured on the record. We got it on Netflix. I got everyone paid out the frame for it. And then everyone's like, Brady's a singer now. He's a like it was just like ching.
It's
So
pretty
that
legit. I
that
mean, you're on
was
the track with Wiz and Papoose. I mean, good
I couldn't
debut.
even sabotage myself out of it, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, that was it. And that was fortunate because, and even that moving forward was a huge psychological battle every day. And I started working on it very hard after that because I was like, I have something to offer here that's very different. And obviously, people, it's working. If something's working, keep doing it, especially if you release it and it works like with the people. I do, that a lot of what I do is from that. So, just started working on it every day, get a vocal coach. I practice it every day. I do vocal exercises every single day, like clockwork in the shower. I have like my little Beats pill, and I have these Spotify vocal exercises, because it's like going to the gym, dude. You gotta hit them exercises every day and build the muscles in your body and your breath control. And but you accelerate quickly because we use our voices every day.
Yeah. Well, but it's like you said, it's psychological. Like, it's so easy to create a block for yourself because there's so many things
Yes.
I've always wanted to try. I wouldn't say I kind of never really thought of myself as a singer, but there are definitely a lot of like other things I could be practicing where I I procrastinate, or I have a mental block about getting to it because it can be so much to take on. But like you said, doing it every day, that's what really makes the difference. That's when you start to notice, and it's making me want to do it more. I was practicing singing for hours yesterday after
Yeah.
I did some research to your stuff. Like, it is good inspiration to have. I heard you talk on a podcast about how, early on your ear training was a tough thing for you that you really had to catch up on. That's another thing I relate to. It took me so many years to feel comfortable with my ear. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so cool hearing about where you've come from musically, but I do want to delve a little deeper into that. I mean, I know you started playing guitar at the age of 13. Like, what was your experience and concept of music before that, before you were really playing it?
I listened to I was like a real hip hop head since I was like 8 years old, from my older stepbrother, Teddy Dillon, rest in peace. He put me on to a lot of music, man, early on. Um, Tribe Called Quest, Wu-Tang, Nas, like all the classics. Because at this point, so I was born in '86, so this was '94. So it was like the popular music that was out was the best hip hop ever made, dropping constantly. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was unbelievable to be a kid in the '90s, dude. The music was crazy. The freaking rock and roll was amazing. The and like people, I sound like an old guy doing this, but dude, the music today, it doesn't compare with the '90s, bro. The rock, the hip hop, the R&B. Come on, like don't
I
even
feel you,
don't
man.
get me started. Like,
93 and 94 are two of my favorite years for music, man. Don't
God, dude, what?
Yeah, I don't blame you,
This
man.
this was coming at me, and I'm breathing all this in. I was really into breakdancing. I was really, I grew up in Nashua, New Hampshire, which is like a small city in New Hampshire. It was sort of cultural, but definitely a bubble. But it was urban enough. It wasn't the country. I was just really into that whole thing, man. For whatever reason.
Were
I
there
think hip
breakdancers
hop.
there? Were you breakdancing? I've heard you mention that
I
also.
was, yeah, but I was, like a kid. When you're a kid, you do a million things.
You
But
know
there
what?
was definitely
Actually,
like a year when I did that. Yeah, hard. Yes.
now that you mention it, I wasn't like into hip hop as a little kid, but I knew I'd heard of breakdancing, and I do recall I was like the ring bearer at a wedding when I was 4 or 5 years old, and I didn't know really what breakdancing was besides spinning on the floor, but at the reception I tried to do it, and a man stepped on my little tiny 4-year-old fingers. So I
Oh,
guess I was also into breakdancing at a young age. I forgot about that.
damn, dude. He was probably drunk.
Well, probably he's at a wedding. I hope he was.
Yeah, right,
But
right. Yeah, look out for the kids at the wedding, guy.
yeah.
I was in eighth grade though when all that stuff was really happening. So I'm surprised it was still a thing in the '90s. I mean, we had Fat Shoelaces and we're watching Breaking and the Electric Boogaloo sequel. Like I was a
Oh
kid
yeah,
when
that
that
was
came
good
out.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I was actually a kid, so I can't dance. I couldn't dance then. I certainly can't dance now. But I'm just surprised in the '90s. I think of the early when you're saying '93, '94, I'm thinking Pearl Jam and Low End Theory. I'm not thinking. I didn't realize that breakdance was still a thing.
Oh yeah, they kept going, man. They kept elevating it. I mean, there's people that do it now much better than ever. That's just how society works. People
Yeah.
build on whatever. You look at the breakdancing competitions now, these dudes are just like acrobats. I mean, it's not even breakdance. I mean, they're defying gravity.
They're like contortionists half the time.
Oh, it's freaking unbelievable, man.
Do you ever get to work with breakdancers? Have you like backed up breakdancers or had
Oh
them
yeah, I mean, yeah,
accompany
they've
you?
been around. They've been around. I haven't done much work with them, but you know, there's always like shows. Yeah, the hip hop shows. People start doing the audience. People. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's one of the pillars of hip hop for sure. You know, breakdancing, graffiti, MC, turntablism. That's the 4 pillars of hip hop. So you know, that's you got to salute the breakers always.
Did you graffiti too? I mean, I know you're a member of your punk band Smash City was a great graffiti or a extreme graffiti artist. I heard you tell a story.
Yeah.
Tagging your band name underneath a bridge. Were you doing the graffiti? Do you do turntable? I mean, I'm sure in your production you do turntablism, but would you consider yourself a turntablist? Would you consider yourself an MC? Have you practiced those things enough? Or do you just have too much respect? It's just like,
yeah, you know, well, this is for graffiti. Yeah, I used to write it with the can. Takes a lot of honing in. It's hard. I did it. I've dropped bombs on walls, but I've never done like good pieces. That's like takes a long time to hone in. Very so I wouldn't say I'm officially that, but yeah, I got notebooks full of graffiti, you know, in this closet right here from, you know, in when I was in school for sure. I was pretty artistic as a kid, but when I was a little kid, drawing was my whole thing.
dude, same.
To the point where my mom is surprised. Everyone's surprised I did music because I just kind of started doing it when I was 13. You know, I mean, I just was just like, oh, now I'm playing guitar, and then I just did it. I really just picked music. You know, it's like it's not like I'm a natural musician. Like with the ear thing that we were talking about before, it just took lots of years of work. I wasn't born this good at it. I wasn't. Same with the confidence. People are like, oh, you're so confident. And I'm like, dude, I had stage fright like everyone else. It's because I've done thousands of shows. That's how I had that. I remember being shook before going on stage, having to freaking chug whiskey before going on stage to get rid of the nerves when I was coming up, you know.
Yeah, man. Dude, it's too funny that you said like same here, man. I was way into drawing. I thought I was going to be an artist for like most of my life, and then before high school I just started playing bass. And I was really into punk rock, and I'm curious how you transitioned from being such a hip hop head into being into being in punk bands, and how those two worlds met for you.
Yeah. So I started playing guitar at 13 and just practiced every day. And then you know when you're learning guitar and you're like really in it, you then are seeking out music to learn how to play. So that then started guiding the trajectory, and I got into like, you know, Sublime and Blink 182 and Red Hot Chili Peppers, all the popular stuff of the day, the popular punk at first, and just getting into all that. And then when I got good enough, started playing in my band, and we needed a bass player, so I switched to bass. And that's when I was like 14, and that's when I got more into the underground scene in New England, and a lot of the bands that influenced me. It was so underground that they don't even have records out. Like they're not even, you know, recognized bands. Some of them got pretty big, like Big D and the Kids Table. They're still going.
I listen to Big D, yeah.
Yeah, I was like rocking with them like when they were just still doing the VFW halls and all those gigs. My band was playing, and I don't even think we ever got big enough to open for Big D. Like there was the type of thing where if we did that, I would be hang it up, even if I like opened for a band like that. That was my only goal as a kid then, you know, but your goals keep on changing.
Yeah. Do you have a particular favorite punk bassist?
So many, man. I would say Matt Freeman from
Nice.
Rancid.
Yeah, he's,
you know, he's
amazing,
probably
man.
the best. He's one of the best. He's one of the best bass players, man.
Yeah, he tears it
You
up,
know.
man. I love I couldn't even when I was playing more punk, I couldn't even learn those lines by ear. I would try. The other guy, my main guy for punk was Mike Watt from the Minutemen. That's
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's my
Yeah, he's
favorite
great.
brand of punk, man.
Yeah,
Um
gotcha.
so I guess working in punk rock, there is like a certain associated mindset and ethic. And what is punk? Does punk
Right.
as an ethic or a style, like how does that affect you today? Do you like are you still as concerned with being punk as you were back then?
No, no. I mean, there's like you know how it is with punk rock. It's very like, oh, this band's legit. That band isn't.
Oh yeah,
This
dude. I
is it's
was I was the
very
biggest
yeah.
snob.
Exactly. Yeah, like you can't listen to Blink 182. You
Dude,
know
oh
that.
dude, that would have been me, trust me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that's punk is so that hip hop is like that too, man. Like, but there's levels to that, right? Eventually I had to shed that. It's still in my mind. There's still a high level of discernment. Like I know what's legit, what's kind of like made in a lab, what's kind of like, oh, this rapper with rap, let me tell you, is a whole thing too, because it's like, oh yeah, that dude, he did time, man. Yeah, he's legit. Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, like their rap sheet, like it's insane, man. You're like, oh, this guy, he didn't really do that. He did, you know what I mean? And I know who did and who didn't. I know these guys in real life, man. Some of these
Yeah,
guys are like, yeah, I know who isn't lying on those records. I can tell you right now.
some of them are
Um,
behind bars, some of them are like fake hamburgers, they're beyond bars, you know.
right. Yo, it is, yeah. So honestly, that whole punk rock thing is still present in the rap world for sure in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that I don't even know what to call that, but it's the same with metal. Like the metalheads were the same way, and it's like, but honestly, people be like, "Oh, do you were you influenced by Corn and Limp Bizkit?" And I'm like, "No, no, I didn't listen to that. Like, I just that
yeah.
wasn't part of the code. You kind of couldn't listen to. I'm not a metalhead when I was a kid. I appreciate it now. I listen to Metallica and all this stuff now. As a kid, I didn't listen to it as much. There's a lot of bands I didn't because it like wasn't in the range for some reason. Like I even just got into Bruce Springsteen like when I was like 30, and I'm obsessed with Bruce Springsteen now, and I just never listened to him growing up. I don't know why. It like wasn't cool or something.
Same.
But
Yeah,
I'm like,
never
that
got
shit is
into it.
amazing. Yeah, if you listen now, you're like, no, this guy's great.
I've had to learn some for some like pop gigs, and I've had a good time with them. I can dig it.
Yeah,
I got to check
yeah.
out more. I'll get there. Um, uh, Speaking of listening to Metallica, are you forming a supergroup now with Robert Trujillo? Or if I always forget if I'm pronouncing that quite right, but I heard you talking about the new song you have out with him and the drummer from uh, who does he play drums with again?
Rage Against the Machine.
Right, of course. Rage was a group I never really got into when I was younger too. But
Oh,
now
really?
looking back, I feel like I should have. I feel like it would have made sense, but they felt too
I mean,
popular
they're
when I
very
was into
legit.
punk. It just felt like anyone who was popular when I was into punk, I was too much of a douche. I was like,
I know that. Yeah, I know that whole mentality.
but but I mean, please tell us a little bit about this new project, because it's in as far as rock and punk goes, that's an exciting mix, and it's a very cool sound you guys have together with the
Well, yeah, there's a
effects you're
new
putting on the
video
double
out, right?
basses.
I
Yeah, yeah,
saw
yeah.
the video just came out, or I just watched it earlier this morning. Actually, I don't remember. I didn't look at when it came out, but that
It
should
came out last. When did that come out? Last summer. So pretty, yeah, pretty recent. Yeah.
you sing a
The
little
song's
bit.
called "Nobody Home." Yeah.
Yeah, and I was good when you were talking about singing earlier. I love how it's just a little bit of a hook that you throw in there, and then
Yep.
the two bass thing is cool. I was going to ask you about that just because I couldn't tell if you're using some kind of an octavert or if you're just playing the bass like a guitar with some overdrive and some other things. But it was a very cool. I'd never heard anything like that before. I thought it was very cool. Like
Yeah.
fronting the band with that, with another bass. I thought that was pretty badass.
Yeah, man. We definitely have a super group going, and we're working on new material. It's gonna be real interesting, and the whole approach with that group is whatever we do is gonna sound like it's never been done before. You know, that's like the whole thing. Like, it's very particular, the ideas that we're working on, and it started with that one song. And yes, that and the song's called "Nobody Home." It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. Um, that bass that I use, that's my modulus quantum, and I string it from E to C, and I use distortion on it. I use the Rat distortion pedal,
Yeah.
which is just the classic one.
Yeah.
That you know, I even have. It's funny because I have that same Rat pedal in my computer. It's like called something different, but it's modeled after that. UAD makes it. It's called Raw, but the Raw thing is just the Rat pedal. And I've been using that on vocals forever. That's what Kanye uses on all those distorted vocals. I should say Mike Dean, the guy that mixes the Kanye material, he uses the same thing because he gets it. He's a guitar player.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike Dean's a legendary musician, sound designer. But yeah, the Rat pedal is it. That's just like what I use. When I find stuff that works, I'm like, that's what I'm using.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need another distortion pedal. You can give it to me. I ain't gonna use it because I know how to just dial that one in. And yeah, it's a sound that people haven't really heard. Everyone's like, "What is that?" And it's like, well, it's because I tune the bass a certain way.
Yeah, when I
Even
was
with your
listening to it, I was looking for the guitarist. I was like, "Oh, it's you."
Yep.
You know, like because I was listening to it, and then I looked at the screen, and you have this remarkably bright yellow suit, right? Is that like so?
Yes. Yes.
And then because I wasn't looking at the screen when it came on, and then I looked. I was like, "Oh, it's two basses. Oh, it's you."
Yeah.
I get it. I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
realize that you were. It was pretty. I'd never heard anything like that. I thought it was very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The two basses and that project, I'm just doing no guitar on it. And when you put boundaries creatively on there, and it's not put in a box, it's more so like it's an aesthetic choice. Like if you're just using bass, it's gonna come out different. It's gonna sound different. That track hits hard, dude, and it's
Yeah.
because it's only basses. You know, you got to mix it a certain way, but it feels different, and that's why people are like, "Oh, okay," you know what I mean? And yeah, we're coming with more on that
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
wanted
Yeah,
to
man.
ask you about that, Brad. I don't know if you had a question you were just
No, go ahead.
but on I wanted to ask you as far so you are using some modeling things. I don't know if you're using modeled cabs or on your record. I listened to that twice yesterday on Lifetronic. Is that what that was called? Is that what your album's called? I
Yeah,
wanted
yes,
I wanted to ask you about it because sometimes the bass, what's really interesting about your sound, is there's doesn't sound like there's a lot of process, certainly posting. It doesn't sound like there's like it sounds pretty dry, the signal. I don't hear a lot of reverbs or a lot of production, or not production, but effects after it. So I wanted to know if you're doing that, if you're modeling or if you are playing like a 4x12 in the studio, because I've watched a ton of your videos and I see you in the studio, but I can't tell if there's an amp somewhere else. And I see you're using a looper when you're doing uh, those live performances in the studio. But I was curious about how you're recording that, if that's something you do, if you're using both ideas or if it's one or the other.
yeah. I just go direct. I never worry about the amp actually on the records.
Cool.
I'm sure there's a way that I mix it that may emulate that, but I just go direct. I do everything at the speed of let's get the record done, because the reality of me as a producer is I'm like a beat maker. I come from the hip hop world, so we're just like recording the audio and then editing it. Like, okay, the rapper's here, we got to get him to finish the song, whatever, however many blunts has to get rolled, you know, bottles of Hennessy. Um, get the friggin' record done. We're in the back of a tour bus. We're in the basement of a strip club. Who knows where we are? But you got to just finish it. I'm not worried about like all the gear, to be honest. I'm like, what's around,
Yep.
because the real trick is like, you're only going to be with this. You may not see this guy for 3 years, dude. Like, you may like start this record and then like he's gone. So in a lot of the great records I've made were in conditions that were not favorable. It was just like, it's a vibe. You want to just capture what it is. So with the basses, each different bass I have has a different function. I got, my Fender P bass has the P bass function, of course. I have my fretless Quantum 5-string, which is my main bass I've played like exclusively since I was 18 years old. A fretless bass is my main bass where I live. I have and I played my whole career as a session player on that till I was 30. I didn't even own another bass, which was actually pretty weird that I look back. I did all that stuff on a fretless bass for a decade. And then the Quantum 5 fretted bass, which Modulus just built me a few years ago, which I kind of converted into a quasi guitar. It's like a tenor bass, as Stanley Clark refers to his. That's kind of like that, as a tenor bass. And I do that, except I put distortion on it a lot of the time. And without it, there's a nice clean vibe. I have my punk rock bass that has all the stickers on it. It's called the Y2K bass because that's the year it's from. And that one's kind of like broken, it's like not very good, which is cool on records sometimes. And then I have my upright bass, which is an upright bass, which has several functions, including arco, strings. The bowing thing is a whole world in itself, especially for film scoring and creating that vibe. I mean, that's untouchable. You can't mimic that. So yeah, my whole thing is based off of the actual instruments rather than sitting there manipulating on a computer for days. I'm very good at computers too, but not too much time is spent messing around in that. And then all the synths, I don't touch synths or keys anymore, and I did for years. And I'm very schooled in sound design and music synthesis. But Carlos Holmes, who's a virtuoso piano player and synth sound designer madman, he is with my production company, and he's just in the room next to me every single day. So I get the record to a point, and then Carlos goes crazy on it and does drums, co-production. That's all dialed in. We're linked up mentally, like, chefs, they get on that level where they teach the other one how to do certain things and work in tandem. That's how we operate at this point.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I do want us to keep diving deeper into production and hip hop. Before we get too far from punk rock, I'm curious to know, out of all of you've worked with so many legendary hip hop artists, who do you bond the most with over punk rock? Who's in the hip hop? You know what I mean? Like, which hip hop artists have gotten the most excited with you about rock and punk?
Well, two of them. One, Talib Kweli was a huge punk rocker as a kid. He's really into like the Stooges. He actually put me on to the Stooges because I didn't listen to them as much. He's a huge Iggy Pop fan, amongst many other groups. He's a big punk rocker, and honestly, not many of these guys are, but he is. And DJ Premier is very, very a wealth of information. Rock and roll, not necessarily just punk rock, but rock. He's super deep on the rock, and that's how he grew up. If people don't know this, because they know Primo as like Primo, the man, the myth, but as a kid, he was like, oh yeah, I was like, that black dude in school that wore the leather jacket, hung out with like the goth chicks and the da da da. Like, it's, you know what I mean? So yeah, he's just a dude, like he's a legend, but he's just a dude like us. So he's gone through all these different phases. He actually got me really into the Smiths, and once again, I wasn't really into the Smiths until that's one of his favorite bands, and now I'm like a Smith super fan. We went to go see Morrissey a few weeks ago, even me and Preem and some friends. It's hilarious to see him. He knows every word, you know.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so Preem knows the shit with the Rock for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's super cool to hear about. I mean, he's one of the most legendary producers ever, so it's good to know he's he's not pigeonholed into one genre. But I guess you kind of have to be as a producer. I mean, Lifetronics, like your album, I feel like you hit so many bases across that album stylistically. It's it's I guess there's like a hip hop backdrop, like the production style in some ways, but you really do touch on so many different styles. It's kind of like its own vibe. Deeper was so funky. I love that track.
Mm.
And the 80 full color plates.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Such
yeah, yeah.
beautiful, like little, that one feels like a little like symphony almost. Like it's such a cool, interesting album. When you were getting ready to put that album together, um was that what you had in mind all along? Was a lot of the features, or were you kind of torn between different concepts how you could start your recording career off? You know what I mean? Like, did you have other ideas in mind for how you could present the first Brady Watt album, like what your vibe was going to be?
You know what, man? I just kind of make the music that comes to me that day, you know, and I do it every day. So I do end up touching on a lot of genres because I see a lot of common threads with all of it. To me, it's all the same. And then even in business, a lot of time we'll be talking and people will be like, "Oh man, you know, you got to keep it here for a while, you know, and you know, because branding." And I'm like, I don't really agree with. I don't think that's a real thing. I honestly
Mm.
don't, because I'll switch it up totally and it'll work. I don't need to just do the same thing. That would be weird for me because I would then be forcing it if I was to try to keep it in one zone. So Lifetronics, all those features, those were all people I was just working with at the time, man. None of that was
Yeah.
orchestrated by anyone. I did everything on that album myself, including the PR and everything. I was living in an abandoned building in Harlem. I did all that in an abandoned building, dude.
I did hear you
With a
mention
with
that
a
on, yeah, on the what is it, Leave Looking Up podcast. I heard you talk about that a bit too, and I wanted you to elaborate a little more on that situation.
Yeah, we so I was living in Harlem. I moved to Harlem. Me and my girlfriend had broken up in Brooklyn. So I had to get out of that house. We're cool now. But I had to leave. We were living together, so I'm like, I'm out of here. And I moved in with my boy up in Harlem on 147th Street, and we lived there for a couple of years. And like I was living in his like living room. I just had to get out of there, and I just got off like a huge tour, the whole country. I was gone for a while, and I'm like, okay, I'm back in New York. Went there, and then paying rent. Rent's a lot of money in New York, man. Like I've always made money, but a lot of it's went out the window to rent and like college loans and everything, man. It's like really expensive. I don't even know how these cats do it nowadays. But so yeah, we moved into on 137th Street. My boy Alameda, his family owned a brownstone on that street, and every once in a while we'd go there and like drink beers and like we'd like, you know what I mean? But it was just this like cavernous abandoned building, right, that his family owned, and there was some work done on it. Like the top floor, they were remodeling it. They remodeled one of the bathrooms, but there was no heat in it, and it was literally a mansion. And I'm like, dude, can I like move in there? Because trying to pay this rent. Like I can't afford this. I keep getting behind on rent, and there's no space. But we got this mansion down the street that we hang out at, right? So his family let me move in there, man. And so I moved in there, and then all of a sudden I had like a 5-story mansion where I set up like a studio in there, and then started having people come over and record, and that's how Lifetronics happened. I would have parties there, and this was like uptown, man, like in Harlem, for real Harlem, and we would have parties, and like 200 people would show up, man.
Oh my God. Not so
Like
abandoned
like I
now.
have like, dude, I had friends that were like R&B stars, and like they would be like these dudes like heartthrobs, right? So they'd be like party at what was it like? Maybe what was the number of it? 179, 137th Street on like Instagram, and then just like mad people, like chicks and everything would show up.
The abandoned building had a better girl-guy ratio than most bars.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wasn't trying to pay for no bars, bro. We'd have bottles of whiskey, and it was lit, dude. The rooftop, the backyard, it was amazing. So once again, it was just it was a vibe, you know. That album was a vibe. That was just what was happening. I was in Kweli's band. He blessed me with the feature. That was big. Melanie Fiona came to see me at the bitter end, and she was like blown away by my plan. So she ended up like, we stayed in touch, and I was like, yo, I got this record that was like dun, 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 dun. And I sent it to her, and she wrote Natural over it and recorded it in my closet, dude. Or like I had like a closet booth, you know, like I put a blanket up in there. I had superstars up in there, bro. In that closet.
That was my first time hearing Melanie. Matt and I were talking about this. I mean, we love that track. Like,
I was blown away by. I love that track. I listened to it a bunch, and I can't. That's so it's in a closet. She did all the overdub. She did all the back. That's all her doing the background. Is wow.
Yeah, yeah. No auto tune too. That was before I didn't even use auto tune. I probably didn't have it back then.
Yeah, she doesn't sound like she needs it, man. It was beautiful.
Well, most records there's auto tune on it nowadays. Even the good singers, it doesn't sound like it. It's on everyone uses it on everything.
Wow.
Everything.
Yeah, we gotta start auto tuning this podcast, Matt.
Yeah. Speaking of auto, I had a question about that because you do the Pai Mei tune.
Oh yeah.
And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, man, this sounds higher than the original. And I wanted to ask you, and I don't mean higher with blunts, strippers, and cognac, but I mean, it sounds like
could be that too.
Brad, that's called a callback in comedy. Anyway, but I was like listening to it, I'm like, this sounds higher than, because that's absolutely one of my favorite scenes. And I was listening to it. I was curious. I was like, it sounds like you created something based off of the flute sound, or I don't know, that pan flute or whatever. That's not a pan. It's actually, if that's what he actually is playing. I don't know.
What is that, a shakuhachi, or what is that called? You know what I mean?
The really long,
the Japanese.
I'll go with you on that.
Yeah. All right, maybe it's totally something different. It was a vibe though. Awesome.
But that was
awesome
badass, man. And I thought it was great. And I was curious if you had bumped it up, if that was a purpose thing, or if it just like the way it sounded where it was. But I thought it was.
Yeah, I think I probably just tuned it to whatever key I had done the music in, and a lot of that I do in Ableton. I just use the tuning. I just turn it up or down, just find what key it's in.
Cool.
Simple. Yeah, I use tuning a lot of stuff, not auto tune, but tuning a lot of time I'll play a bass line and then just flip it up an octave in Ableton. You know, sounds dope. It cuts through. Do it on vocals, whatever.
And when you're live, you're using, like when you're doing those live performances in the studio, you're using some kind of looper on the floor.
Yeah, I have two loopers. I use the Ditto. Who makes that? There's something Ditto.
TC, right? Is that TC Electronics?
Yes.
I love
that. That's good.
That's a great.
That's good. Too. I mean, I stomp right through it all the time. You know, I push the thing into itself and break it. But other than that, it's good. And then several of them. But and then I got the Head Rush looper board.
Oh, I don't know.
The big one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's like got like 4 banks. Like that's like the ultra one. That's probably the best loop pedal that exists as far as how the capabilities of it, because it can MIDI sync to Carlos on his computer, or my computer or whatever. So we're on the click or no click, or you can optimize everything.
Oh, wow.
It's got effect banks in there, firmware. It's constantly updating. My college roommate invented it.
Oh,
so I've been playing on that. Yeah, I've been playing on it since it was a prototype.
But it's a production thing. You can buy it. Anybody can buy one.
Yep. Yeah, I just so happened to go to school with the guy.
Yeah, you just so happen to hang out with a lot of cool people.
Yeah.
It happens.
Like
me and him go all the way back though. We were just like assigned roommates, you know what I mean?
Wow.
It was like three of us living in the same room. I was freaking mayhem when I was 18, freshman year. My boy Walt. What up, Walt?
Yeah. You like this better than, like, say, the boomerang then? That's the other one I know that a lot of people use.
Is the boomerang, which is that the Boss one?
No, the Boss is the loop station. I have both that
Okay.
and the
Those
Ditto.
are all good, yeah.
Yeah. I like the Boss one, if I'm being honest, is a little complicated because it's got one pedal and it does everything, but you got to have some Morse code happening with your feet to get it to do
Yeah,
what you want it to do. But I don't know this one. I'll check the one out. That you tell me the name again, the one that your friend made.
It's called the Head Rush Looper Board.
Cool. All right, I'll
Yeah, Walt Skorupski. And who makes that? Yeah, Head Rush. Head Rush is the company, yeah.
All right. And as long as we're on the topic, where did you go to school and what did you study?
Berklee College of Music.
So you study music.
I studied professional music. It was kind of like a make your own, choose your own destiny major, which was great because I just picked all the classes that I wanted. You know, Afro-Cuban slap bass lines, harmonic ear training 1 and 2. You know, I was studying, you know, counterpoint, fugues, everything, man. You know, I was heavy stuff, business stuff, music synthesis. I just picked dope classes. I actually technically didn't graduate because I still have 6 credits left. But I did all the hard stuff and I had all good grades.
Well, I teach at the College of St. Rose in Albany. I can probably get you in there for these last 6 credits if you want. Let me know.
If you can like waive them, that would be good.
Oh, well, I can't say that legally.
Do you want to forge them? Because I'm just not saying.
I wanted to ask you though, because I teach an ear training class and transcription class, and I basically what I've come to find for me in the last 25, 30 years is that the best thing to study is the tunes that you like to listen to, figuring out how to do what you're hearing. And I was curious how you were talking about ear training, if you're actually doing something formally or if you have in the past, or if it's just a matter of going to the records you like, sitting down with them for hours on end and listening and figuring out what's happening.
All of that is important. You know, I think with Berklee, you're required to do ear training 1 through 4. Like, so it's like 4 semesters of solfege and all that, you know, advanced solfege. That was very helpful, pretty painstaking, wasn't good at it, you know, but that was helpful. What was even more helpful, which is one of my favorite classes, was harmonic ear training, which was transcribing chord changes and voicings.
Yep.
That's one of the most important things as a bass player, for sure. I wish I could have kept taking those. That was great. And that was an elective. I was like, this honestly is more important than the regular year training for us. I thought.
That's what I'm dealing with like right now I'm doing doing a 4-week lesson on PYT, and
okay.
So like the first part of it is Louis Johnson in the bass line and all the chord, just transcribing the chords so you can see how these chords are all in the same key and how he's playing over them. And it's funny to do it. I find that this is a much more productive way to do it. I the part of the class that's in solfege I kind of abandoned for a minute and just doing this because they want the tune. So I'm just trying to strike a balance of keeping people interested but getting the tools they need to move on and figure out what to do in life.
Both is it. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
That's why I was
Takes a lot of work. Yeah,
it's a lot.
Dude, and honestly, my ear got really good from playing in church. I played at a Baptist church since I first moved to New York, and that was because there are like thousands of tunes. They all just know them. They're like, oh yeah, it's glory be to God. Da, da, da. They could play it in any key, walking the bass on the organ with their foot, singing, directing the choir. To them, they've been doing it forever. But I was new. I was a good bass player, but I was new to this world. I first moved to New York, and this was like my only reoccurring gig. It was saving my life, you know. I was saved by Jesus in real life, not even rhetorically. That church gig was putting the roof over my head, and the food, and I was eating there too on Sunday too. But I go there and they play like 2-3 hour services,
Yep.
and there was all these songs, and you just had to know how to hop in, because then 500 people are clapping. You better
Yeah.
be able to figure it out, So that pressure will make you step it up too, man. And you can read the organ player's foot. I'd be reading the foot and having to reverse it.
Yeah, I came up the same way and right around the corner from where you are, like in Showman's. I used to play in Showman's and with organ players.
Showman's in where is that?
That's was on 125th.
Oh, in Harlem, yeah.
Harlem.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you were in Harlem.
I was, yeah. I lived in Inwood.
Gotcha.
But
dude, that's the best. Uptown New York.
Yeah, man. And New York gets expensive, as where we started this conversation out. But I didn't have a friend's brownstone to move into, so I kind of just figured it out. But yeah, it was playing with organ players. That's like at the time, that's what we did a lot of church stuff in there, but it was also a lot of R&B and a lot of blues and a lot of jazz stuff. But it was trial by fire. I learned how to play it there because you just do it in real time, and if they don't like you, they let you know, and if they do like you, they let you know, and it's a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yes, yeah, you could.
But I didn't make
train.
No money. Jesus didn't save me, man. I was I was paying more in car fare to get home than I was probably earning on the gig, but it was pretty.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know those days.
Yeah.
So I guess while we're on topic, do you have a particular favorite gospel bass player? Because that genre is so ripe with amazing bass lines, and I mean, personally, like Andrew Boucher.
Man. I was about to say, yeah, he's the guy. He's really the guy.
Yeah.
Andrew Boucher.
Do you still like study that stuff? I'm sorry, you go ahead.
I don't listen to it very much anymore. I'll listen to the classics. I don't listen to any new gospel. They kind of lost me because a lot of the new stuff, there might be some new stuff that's good, but stuff I hear sounds that they make now sounds like the white Christian music. And I'm like, guys, you had it already. What you're doing was amazing. And now it's like that like Hillsong vibe.
Yeah, it's kind of like new agey. Yeah,
I'm cool on that. I want the funk, man. I want the nasty, like John P. Key, Hezekiah Walker, Marvin Sapp. And I'm sure that still exists out there too. But the stuff I've been hearing is like not what I'm not feeling. So I listen to all the old stuff. But yeah, Sheree Reed is a crazy bass player. Thaddeus Tribbett, Andrew Boucher, of course. Fred Hampton, who I've been harassing. Fred Hampton is a revolutionary figure. Fred Hammond on Instagram. I've been harassing him to do a bass and bars because he's one of the best, man, and he's singing too, and he's running the whole show. So yeah, man, we're gonna do a bass and bars, bro. Some like classic gospel. Me and him going in on it.
Very cool.
Yeah, well, you guys want to do a coffee break? What time is it?
Yeah, what are we? We're just about an hour in. So if you want to go grab your coffee now,
let's do coffee, man. I'm messing up last names, so I'm gonna need some caffeine.
Fred Hampton. Yeah. So. We'll hit a few more topics before we wrap it up. Let us know if you got to wrap it up. Cheers.
Yeah, we'll go till like 10:30, right?
Works for us.
No, not 10:30. 11:30. Yeah, 11:30.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about bass and bars a little bit. Very cool series. I don't know if there was any particular inspiration that got you into doing that particular setting. It's a cool thing to see as a bassist, someone taking that on putting the bass in the forefront, especially in hip hop. It's really cool to see, but it's got to be nerve wracking. Like, how do you? It's just you and the loops and the bass. Was it scary when you first started doing the show? You know, episode 5, you got Xzibit, and you got to nail these loops, and it's all on you as the bassist. I mean, I wouldn't be used to that as a bassist carrying all that weight. Was that how daunting was it at first to kind of reorient to this new type of performance that you don't see a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I think just kind of rising to the occasion. I had done it before, but not a ton. But obviously, just played so much bass in my life, man. You know, at this point, the bass is like it's not that hard. It's not like I've played those lines so many times. Of course, yeah, keeping the time, like bass and bars, the biggest thing about that is keeping the time, keeping the tempo with the rappers, knowing what to play. Obviously, I have a lot of chops that I don't use a lot, man, because if once you start doing fills, it can throw the guy off because he chances are the rapper hasn't done this before, you know? Like I've
Yeah.
done it before. The rap, no, they haven't. Who's doing that? You know, nobody. So, um, my job is to keep them on point too, because I don't want them to look bad.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the parts you do in those are they're very functional, and you're really great at that like minimalistic, like supportive vibe. But still, like I said, like even though you play so much bass, to me, I would be nervous. That's like I don't play like solo bass gigs, and that's when it's just you backing up the singer. I feel like that's almost a departure of that role in the bass where you don't have a drummer to support you. It's you're doing all that, and I mean, it comes across great, man. It's an awesome series. Is there a particular? Did you ever run into any issues on an episode where it was like a particular artist made you were just nervous to work with them, or looping was there any other like technical difficulties, or was
Well,
it all pretty
luckily
smooth?
we can do several takes. You know,
Yeah,
usually it's on the first take, honestly, but can do as many as we want. So I'm not super nervous about that. Yeah, sometimes the pedal messes up. Is a million things can happen, but nah. I mean, the main thing for me, I over prepare for everything. And to be honest, I could show up and just wing it and listen to it right before. And I've done that before too, but like learn the bass line and go out on stage in front of thousands of people, you know, I can do that. But if I have time, I enjoy playing, I enjoy practicing. So I'll run this thing over and over and over again, man. Like, so like the more you prepare, the less nervous you are. You
yeah.
know, you just like run it into oblivion. And then when you show up, it like comes off real effortless and everyone loves it. And it looks like it's some mystery. Oh, this guy is great. And it's like, well, no, I just practiced for 6 hours yesterday. You know, like the Murs one where I'm playing that really, it was like almost a classical line. I practiced that for hours, hours, hours straight just for fun. Well, what else am I going to do tonight? I'm going to watch freaking TV? No, I'm going to sit here and play this thing to a click for hours.
It's
The
badass,
regular,
man. I mean,
what
you're
else?
like I
Why?
said,
What
you're
are we
working with
doing
the
here?
best of the best. Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing how confidently you get up with those guys because they're legends. I love that the Eric Sermon episode. Also, I'm such a big Eric Sermon fan. That was so cool to see, man. Um,
The
Warren G
G one was
episode. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
and it's I mean, like I said, it's just you don't see a lot of people approach the bass that way, especially within hip hop, and it's a cool angle to take. Do you have any other like particular hip hop specific bass players that have kind of, I guess, inspired how you relate to that genre from the bass?
You know, really all the producers all have a different swing. Primo has a certain swing to his beats where I've emulated that for years on the bass. Dilla has a certain feel. Pete Rock has a certain feel. Dre has a certain feel.
Yeah,
So it's not really the bass players that influence me on the hip hop. It's more the producers. I'm sure they had different bass players in the studio, some of them, but Preem does all of it himself on a keyboard, very meticulously to the millisecond, sitting there over and over again with the kick, placing it exactly right. You know, it's a science the way he does it. All that. It's all about like the kick coming before the downbeat. That, you know, side kick, like the note before. That's what it's really about. The velocity, or I guess velocity wouldn't matter, but the level of it in comparison to the next kick in volume, and then the placement time wise, where if you take it off a millisecond, I'm going to hear it. It's very, very particular. That's what makes it sound live. Does that over again. Every single instrument in his beats, he's sitting there getting it exactly right. There's no at all. He'll make that loop perfect, you know. And then there's other producers that are a little more loose with it.
Yeah, but like you said,
You know,
they have a specific swing. It's like that is a cool thing to shoot for. Like that's something I want to push myself to do, is to be really good at toning within the DAW or whatever program you're using to get that, because I mean, I think that's one of my favorite parts about hip hop is how it's pushed feel. Like you were saying, like Pete Rock has one of my favorite feels, or like Easy Mo B, like the specificity of it. I feel like especially early on, a lot of people assume because there's loops and more technology, people are phoning it in, and it's not, and it's all like on the grid. But no, I feel like there's so much nuance to what hip hop has done for feel. And yeah, I mean, I guess like you said, it really is a big thing for the producers. You know, I love like Hub from the Roots. You know, as far as hip-hop bassists go,
he's one of the tops, bro. Absolutely.
But you know, it really is like a big thing on the producers. I don't know if there's any drummers in particular that you think of either. I know you've worked with Daru Jones. He's a hip hop drummer I love, but it's like you said, man, it's so much of it is in the production. If I guess at this point is that, like, I know getting to work with Primo is a big you know, help in your development as a producer. Like who else, you know, when you were just starting to produce, was like, who did you want to be like, or who really like made a sound that made you want to, you know, make your own sound like theirs? Not like theirs, you know what I mean though? Who really got the fire going?
Well, we're all really a culmination of all the different musical experiences we've had. It's not like I'm not just like an island. I'm just a mix of all the people that I've worked with till now, which is why it's important to just get outside and get involved in the scene, because it becomes a part of you every day, every person that you meet, especially when you're a musician. I was with Ski Beats, the producer, for years, sitting next to him, playing bass on all those records, watching how he does Ableton, to the point where eventually I was like, I'm just going to start producing, because I'm doing the music and then he's doing the drums, and okay, I'm going to just do this now. And then I did Lifetronics, you know, not too long after that. I worked with Decap, the producer, for years. He's from Nashua as well. He's one of the top drum like sample makers in the world. So he's like with the sound design and tailoring the drums in the music, getting the music right. He's a master of that, and we've been working together since we were kids. And I was kind of doing like the music, and then he was doing more of the drums, and I was learning that whole time. So now, any given day, like yesterday, I pull a drum machine. I know how to pull all these drums from all different sample packs and stuff and make it, you know, sound crazy and unique. Like even the beat I did yesterday, I was just like, man, this shit is crazy, bro. Like the drum, the way I pulled it all together, this joint is out of control. You know what I mean? And it was like that whole drum programming thing is a skill in itself that takes 10,000 hours itself, bro. It sounds easy and it sounds like, oh yeah, you can just pull it from a splice. And yeah, you can. But in order to really paint the picture with that, it takes a while. It's like learning like color theory or something, very specific.
Oh
It
yeah.
translates. It's the intention. It translates to the listener, bro. They know. The listeners
Yeah.
aren't dumb, bro. They because you listen with your subconscious, and your subconscious is very smart because it's not using all this other. Our brains are clouded with all this crap, and you know what I mean. But the subconscious, when you're listening to music, you're feeling it, and that's why music, something like kind of obscure stuff, somehow finds a way. Like if your music's good enough, it's gonna get up. It's really gonna get up there, bro. I've seen it over and over again in my career. Even if the person is like a social train wreck, I've seen their music excel. Some of the biggest, nah, dude, you're not at all. You're great at rock.
No,
I
no,
know
I know.
people that are like,
Yeah.
what's up with this guy? Their music is on the top of the charts because they're so freaking good, man. Something about this thing that they're doing, it finds a way, dude.
Yeah, man.
Finds
Are
a
you
way.
doing that in so when you're all these different beat packs and are you using Ableton to put this together? Or is it some or is it what DAW?
Yeah.
It's all Ableton.
Yeah. I've been on Ableton for 16 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're
OG
just using some
Ableton.
kind of MIDI controller to trigger all of these things, or do you?
Yeah, I use the Ableton Push, which I've been using also that since it was a prototype. They sent me it and it was like a clunky, you know, I actually helped. I don't own any part of it, but I helped develop that with my feedback for sure with those guys.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep, Ableton. Ableton is the best for what I do. And I do a lot of audio, just recording audio, editing audio. Spend a lot of hours editing stuff, getting it exactly right.
All in Ableton.
Yes.
Cool.
Always Ableton. I should learn Pro Tools, but I haven't. Definitely
I'm the
supposed to
opposite.
know it.
I do Pro Tools, but I should learn Ableton, but I'll get there one day.
Good
Do you
to know
use
Pro
any of it
Tools, man.
live? Is it like do you incorporate a lot of like laptop setup, or does your live performance require you to have a rig ready to go?
I did for years, and when I performed solo opening tours, many years I've done that, push on stage, all that.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that my current setup has no computer on stage. It's great. Go out there, no click. It feels awesome. And it's like I just reached the point where it's like this is my band. I can decide what it is. I like having the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. It's pretty sick, and I feel like everyone's doing the opposite. But however, I'm not saying the computer thing is easier. It's hard, and the computer can train wreck on stage, and it has train wrecked on stage. I've had a fan lean on like my power adapter and just like shut the whole freaking show down.
Jeez.
You know, mid build up. It's like
course.
this is ridiculous. I don't even want to.
We lost.
I like
put my
giving
purse
people-
here. We lost you for 2
like,
minutes.
Drinks on the stage. I'm like, I'm gonna kick that
Oh my
thing out
God.
of the.
Oh, I hate that so much.
Yeah, I hate that, bro. So I feel like the reason why I do that, man, is because our lives are so screen based and so computer based that when people come and pay to see my band perform, I want to give them like a real live experience, live instruments. It hits different when it's not with the computer.
Yeah, my whole this has been the opposite. I mean, I've always played live, and the computer is always kind of still bugs me out trying to make music on it. You know, so playing live is just it's just the reaction. It's all in real time, and without having to deal with electronics for me is a lot easier. So it's funny how you seem to have come full circle. Like in your,
I would say it's important if you intend on being like a master musician, it's important to do both.
Yeah.
You know, you never want to limit yourself, and it's the same thing with the vocals. It's like, okay, you've played so much bass. What's harder than playing bass? What's the next level of bass? Where do I go from here? It would be singing and playing bass.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to transcend, then doing both at the same time, then then you get a whole new mountain to climb.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I've like Matt, mostly just done just regular live playing with the bands, and I've seen some people do amazing stuff with DAWs, and it's something I've wanted to incorporate into live performance. The past almost 2 years now, I've been dabbling in stand-up comedy at open mics, and I feel like
Wow.
there's like in the concept of building a set, if you're writing jokes, it's like you need to make every word, every second count that you can. I mean, obviously there's some wiggle room, but it's like your set, building your set, it's like what you're gonna go through, and you have all these like punches in place. And as much as I love improvising so much, I feel like what you can do in the studio to prepare with with a DAW, it's like almost like building a set the way a comedian would, where you have those punches in there, you have this like structure to put on like like all-encompassing entertaining experience. Not that you can't do that with a band, but it's just like what that does for the intricacy of your live performance. I have so much respect for it. It's so cool that you
Definitely.
you can make all that come to life, from the studio. I know you've done live shows with Marc Rebillet. I don't know how to
Yeah,
pronounce
yeah,
his last
Rebbia,
name, but he's a master of that stuff. I mean,
yeah.
what's when you work with a setup like that, is he like, would you consider him someone more on the forefront of doing that, or is it more so just you like?
Well, no, he improvises every
That
single set
show you
that
guys
he's ever
did,
done.
that show you did, that's online. I was just telling Brad before we start. It's like an hour and 40-minute concert with Premiere. That shit was amazing, man. I was blown away at the just to changing of feels, he's changing beats, you're creating something new, and then he's just like improvising with words and chords. And it sounded great. Like I was immediately drawn in, and it was hilarious, fun to listen to. You guys look like you're having a blast. What a performance, man. I had never checked that out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, not 1 ounce of premeditation for that performance.
It feels it. You're like on the tightrope the whole. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's cool. And I mean, dude, we did that. It went viral. There was like 30,000 people watching live, which I forgot because we're in the friggin' studio, just jamming in the studio. I'm with Preem like every day. And then, but there's like a camera over there that Marc sets up the camera himself, does it all himself. I mean, what he does is it's really hard to do, man, to sing and loop and all that. Like, and he's not on a click. He's doing it live. There's no click. I don't.
And he's
just doing
hilarious.
it.
The
He's
stuff
hilarious.
riffing on, like I was telling Brad, he just starts talking about his feet on the sidewalk and just keeps repeating the phrase, and I was dying laughing and like moving because it was groovy the whole time. I'd never seen anything like that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact, I'll probably watch it again later. That shit was exciting as hell.
To show you with the songwriting thing, it's like all these regular phrases work great. It's not rocket science. You can just have some sentence that repeats and it resonates with people. You don't need a degree in songwriting for this shit.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like society a lot of times tricks us into, oh, you need to, there's like a method. You need to do this and that. And it's like, well, yeah, but, at the same time, maybe not. I mean, obviously, he's done it a lot of time, but these concepts aren't always rocket science, with songwriting. And to be honest, like, so we did that video, right? And then people loved it. And then New York City booked us to headline Central Park. We
Wow.
performed a sold out Central Park. And this was like right when the pandemic stuff was opening. And we performed Central Park. The only premeditation we had was that we're all wearing robes. That was the only talk about any music.
Yeah, I do remember
So
that.
it's just like it was Central Park, dude. Like ocean of humans, and me, Freeman, and Marc walk out and just freestyle the 2 hour set, dude.
Wow.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
feeding off of that
when
kind of crowd.
you remove those boundaries of rehearsing and stuff. And hey, I love rehearsing. I like a tight set. But when
Yeah.
you get rid of it, sometimes even better stuff could happen. You don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, as much as I was talking about planning your set in a DAW, the ability to do it to incorporate so many complicated electronics into improvisation is so cool. I mean, I love the idea of Premiere, whoever else using vinyl in an improvisatory setting or using samples and that technology is hard enough to incorporate. Then you guys have to balance the loops and everything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's just so like it sounds like so much fun to do, but it's so impressive to watch come together like improvised music like that. It's a cool place to see improvisation go. And yeah, man, I mean, like I said, it's so many things he's done we could talk about that are very impressive and inspiring. But I'm curious to know, since I know you got to be running with these crowds, um I'm sure you meet a lot of comedians. Who's your favorite stand-up comedian, and has stand-up comedy, do you feel like or comedy in general, has it influenced you as a musician, would you say?
Yeah, I love stand up, and I've been around Dave Chappelle like a lot since I was for the past 15 years because he's like best friends with Talib Kweli in real life.
Yeah.
So
Pardon my cat, sorry.
hey there. So yeah, dude, like friggin' the Dave Chappelle, who's one of the best. I've been around him a lot, man, like since I was younger. And to see what he does is crazy because he's that comedian that everyone knows and loves. He's just that guy in real life. He's doing the same thing when you see him backstage. Everyone's listening to him and he's just talking, smoking cigarettes wherever he wants. It being like, hey, let's go across the street. You just shut them down. We'll just bring everyone over there, and then you go there till like 6 a.m. and like John Mayer's there and like the friggin' president. It's like
Yeah.
this like insane world of like anything that you imagine can happen. Yeah, I've been around some really just next level humans, man, that have opened my eyes to like, oh damn, that's you can do that, you know. But yeah, I love stand-up comedians in general. I love all of them, Joe Rogan, Louis,
Yeah.
who's the Theo Vaughn,
Yeah, Theo's hilarious.
Schultz.
Yeah.
I like all the classic guys, George Carlin, Mitch Hedberg. Actually, speaking of Mitch Hedberg, didn't he used to go out with the upright bass player sometimes?
Yeah, I think I had heard that. Yeah, he did some shows like that. I think
I should
Patrice
do that. I
O'Neill
should do that
might
with
have done
someone.
that. Something like that.
I've never seen. I mean, I know a lot of Mitch clips, but I don't know one with a bass. I have no idea.
I
Feel
feel like
like
I've
there's a
heard that
thing where
too,
he was
though.
doing that. Yeah, yeah.
I heard that. I haven't seen it, but I feel like I've heard that about him.
I want to pitch that to someone, some comedian. They'll go out and they'll just be there freestyling on the upright. That would be dope.
Yeah, yeah. I know there's guys out in LA doing who runs it. There's guys I think at the Comedy Store. They do a thing called like tiny sets where they do like really short jokes, and they'll do ones where it's just a really short joke with a band playing something like right after.
Huh.
There's some people have done some stuff in that direction, but um I mean, I'd love to see more. Some people tell me at the open mics I go to, again, I'm a beginner, I suck. People tell me that I should be, sorry, I'm just plugging my charger in, that I should like bring out my bass for and I feel like I should work on jokes first. But I feel like if you find the right guy, I feel like a professional knows how to not only roll with that and work with the bass, but you can write around that. Like you can build your set basically around the vibe that you're setting up by bringing that whole bass out. Like it's a whole another thing, I feel like.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but I hope
Yeah,
to
I
see
want
you
to do
do it.
that.
It would be,
That'd be
you
good
know,
practice too.
it could be an extension of bass and bars.
Right.
It could be the
Oh,
live
right.
bass
Oh,
and bars.
shit. Yeah.
um,
Different
but
comedians. That's a good idea.
now if you weren't able to do, you know, what you're doing in music now, what would be the art that you think you would gravitate to next if you had to pick a different path?
I'm kind of doing it with the lyrics, man, with the singing and the lyrics, because that's
But
like a
like no,
whole
like
new world.
outside of bass, not outside of that,
Mm,
outside of music. If you had to pick a different
outside of
discipline
music.
altogether,
But yeah,
yeah.
the writing feels like it. It's a completely different discipline because it's words. It's a whole new friggin' world, dude. It's like I had to work on that, writing every day, writing, learn how to rhyme. But yeah, if we're to go outside of music, what would I do? Dude, honestly, like I always fantasize of just like being like a freaking firefighter. Like, what if I was just like a sanitation worker? You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like a regular job. Like, just
yeah.
because I've never had that. Well, I used to do manual labor before all this, but never had that life. Some is enticing, but I obviously like if I was to do it, I'd probably get sick of it after like a month. But in my mind, I think about it because it's always my life's always been this freaking roller coaster. You know,
Yeah.
it's
I bet
never
it wouldn't
been
take a month of
steady.
meditation. Probably a day, you'd be done.
A day, yeah. Well, I have no sense of smell, so I'm
Oh,
made for it.
Oh,
I have
that's
no
why you
sense of
prefer.
smell.
anosmia? Is that what that's called?
I was born without a sense of smell. I mean, I just can't smell nothing. I'm smell blind, like Dewey Cox.
Huh.
Wow.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Can't
Um,
smell nothing.
Damn.
huh.
I didn't know that was
But yeah,
Yeah,
anosmia though. That's the term, right?
maybe
I
so.
think.
I mean,
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
had
I
I
guess.
had a doctor's appointment yesterday. Didn't bring it up again. It's so dumb. Like I probably should have just like asked my doctor. My parents brought it up at some point in the last 36 years, but it's never been brought up.
wow.
Do you feel like that strengthens like your taste of or your sense of taste? Do you have like a are you
It has to.
like are you very opinionated about taste? Like when you're eating, do you really like get into it, or do you feel like that's not sharp?
It's all I know, so I don't really know.
Huh. Yeah, interesting. It's hard to think of interview questions to ask about not having a sense of smell because I don't have a great sense of smell, but I can't imagine being without it. It's interesting. Okay, and here goes
Yeah,
my cat
smell
again.
blind, bro.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, it's 11:30. We're gonna get wrapping it up. Okay. One last very short answer.
Okay.
If you had to give the fans one of your guilty pleasure songs to listen to or artists to listen to that they would not expect, what are you throwing on for your guilty pleasure?
There are a bunch of them. Um, I mean, I don't even know if it's a guilty pleasure. It's a great band. Love Coldplay. Love Coldplay.
Okay, would not have expected, but yeah.
Great music. Who else do I like? I mean, there's a lot of like rap stuff that's just I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure though. But yeah, let's
I
say Coldplay.
Okay, yeah, just like something that people wouldn't expect based on what we've been talking about. I mean, like I said, man, you cross so many
And
genres.
I
You do
love
such
country. Love country. Yeah.
okay. I like a few good
Music.
songs. I mean, I love some Patsy Cline, some Hank
Yeah.
Williams Jr. I feel you, man. There's some cool shit out there.
I like the new
Oh,
stuff too, man. Love it.
um, well, yeah, man. I mean, you cross so many genres. You do such a good job of it. And I'm excited to see what's coming. What should people be on the lookout for? I know they should check out the new Styles P album. I know they should check out Bass and Bars. What do you want to tell them about?
Yeah, just follow me. I release music and videos constantly, so just you're gonna be getting something from me every day. So be there for it.
Awesome.
There's a lot of music coming all year, man. I do this every day.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, man. It was an honor talking to you. I appreciate it. And you're always welcome back. So
Yeah, man. Really
Thank you,
good
man.
to meet you and hear about your career. Incredible to talk to you, man. Thanks so much for doing it.
Nice to meet you guys. And when I come up to Albany, we'll go out to eat.
Oh, please
Awesome,
let
man.
us
You
know.
let us know.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I'm
hope
gonna
you have.
come up there soon. I gotta.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Anytime you let us know, we'll let you know what's up with Albany, and we appreciate it, man. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Robe looks so nice. Gotta say again,
Oh,
I
let's
gotta
hold
get
on.
Yeah, I'm
myself.
about to hop in the shower.
I gotta get a better robe myself. Hopefully next time we talk, I'll have a better robe.
There you
But
go. Yeah, next interview, I need you guys in robes.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
All right, man. Well, yeah, if you
Later,
want to hop
guys.
off the Zoom, we'll keep it going in here. But have a good one.
Take care, man.
Later, fellas.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.